Hi there, welcome to Games Over Qualia. My name is Devon. These videos work in 3 different parts. First, you send me your game and you fill out this form about your intended experience. Second, I'll play the game completely blind and then I explain what I think the game was trying to do. Third, I compare my blind experience with your intended experience and we'll see if they align or if they don't. Today we're taking a look at a very weird, bizarre game. This is called Manboobs the Minigame by Confused Concept Minigames. This game is clearly not serious, right? Not a serious game in any way. It's a parody beyond parody beyond parody. I don't know if that extends all the way to the game mechanics itself, but it is making fun of a lot of cultural things. So there's a lot of YouTube personalities in here, very big YouTube personalities like MrBeast or Linus Tech Tips. Also some icons like Airsoft Fatty, who's in here as Air Sith Daddy. Linus Tech Tips is Linus Tech Nips. MrBeast is Mr. Meat. The whole game seems to be this kind of what I want to call a pop art remix. This person definitely knows the YouTube space and has created something that's in a response to that culture that YouTube has created. I'm not sure actually of how much of this game that I can show on YouTube. If you could call what this game was in terms of genre, it would be a 3D platformer, but this game is not designed to be a 3D platformer. It's not really designed in any way whatsoever. It feels more like a sandbox kind of game where there's just things here, but you're supposed to be 3D platforming in order to reach the exit. You begin in this room, in this like castle type of restaurant area, or restaurant castle. You go into the first level. The first level is a very long series of very linear jumping challenges where you have to jump from one cliff to another. And they're designed in a super specific way. It feels like the developer tried jumping into the air as far as they could and then just made the next platform that specific distance. And then they have like some sort of barriers in between that are supposed to be Gucci trolls. I believe the model of here is Airsoft Fatty, who is modeled in such a way that he has tattoos on his face and long hair, and it makes him look like 6'9", basically. But he has chicken wings on his head. But the whole idea is that he's like a troll. It's a very, very tongue-in-cheek humor. You just see it and it's just, that's the joke. You can see the jokes. That's the point of the game. After that is a sky level. You have a bunch of floating structures of some sort. You have these big pigs that are flying that have large mammaries. You have bouncy trees. You have cannons that are shooting obese men at you. At first, mechanically, what I thought this was is a parody of the Beast games kind of thing, because it seemed like when I was playing that the challenges themselves are so mundane and so simple that I was like, oh, that's Beast games. And it makes sense for Mr. Meat to use this AI voice of Mr. Beast that he's presenting challenges to you. And the voice itself, like it's AI generated in like the funniest way. They left in all the glitches of the AI. So you just hear Mr. Beast going, blah, 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 blah.
You will be rewarded with 500 chicken nuggets.
But it doesn't seem to be a parody of any game. It doesn't seem to be a parody of anything specific. It's just an interactive kind of toy box in which the player is presented a bunch of parody stuff. In that sense, it's almost like a museum. And with that being said, that is the thing that I want to talk about here. The very beginning of this game is where I thought it worked the best. I don't think this game works. I don't like playing this game because it's a very frustrating 3D platformer. So anyway, I want to talk about this very first part. The Mr. Meat character says something very specific. He says you can go to the portal to start the game, but look around if you'd like. And that part was really interesting to me. It suddenly changes the player's motivation. I talked about this a little bit before in my channel Games Over Coffee, which I don't upload to anymore, but in that channel we talked about GoldenEye 007 for N64. And I talked about how the levels in that game were designed not to be a player's specific design, but rather to emulate the rooms that the people found on the GoldenEye sets. So like they would go to the film sets, look at what the film sets look like, and then create those 3D models inside of their game engine. They were not specifically made for the player. They were just made to be themselves. And so what's really cool about that is that when the player plays the game, because they are a spy and they're not supposed to be in the areas that they are in, it feels like the game is acknowledging that. It feels like the game is saying, hey, these spaces are meant to be themselves and the player is separate. The player does not belong here. The level was designed with you not in mind. You know, it's its own thing and you are just an outsider. So with that being said, in this kind of way where we're making a tongue-in-cheek game where the player is not really important, but rather we're just presenting a bunch of stuff to them, like kind of like a museum, right? Where you're just showing off a bunch of things. In the very beginning, when Mr. Meat says to have a look around, that's what you do. I was motivating myself in this instance, and I went and looked around, and it felt normal. It felt fine. There was no frustration. There was no friction. Even though moving around was not very fun, it was not very expressive, I don't really care. The point was to look around, so that's what I did. I'm going to the rooms and I'm seeing like credits that they have. Like speaking of museum, that's kind of how this is laid out. You have like these works of art. All the pictures are like credits of like the models that they use and people that they're thanking and stuff like that. And it was really cool to just go around the area and like see all of these weird like things that they had put. It's their own type of humor, which I'm not really into personally, but it was really interesting mechanically to just motivate myself. And there's a lot of different things in here. There's a lot of different things to look at. So that's that kind of almost anti-design kind of thing. When you think about game design, you're thinking about the player themselves and like the type of experience that you want the player to have. And in this instance, you're kind of sticking the player in just a world and saying, hey, just go at it and just go look at stuff. And that's like not design. That's like complete opposite of design, but it kind of works in this instance. Once you give the player a goal, then you're giving the player a responsibility. And you're saying, hey, with these things that I gave you, try to reach that goal. Now the design comes into play. And now you need to figure out, how do I utilize this stuff to do what you want me to do? When that happened, which was all the rest of the levels of the game, they feel like they're prototypes, just workable prototypes, just almost workable. And then that's it. It doesn't feel like there's a meaningful experience being had here. But that first part and the last part, those feel a little bit more harmonious. I think the reason why that museum kind of feeling didn't stick with me throughout the whole thing was because every time that I came back to the hub world, there was another kind of discovery mini game. And it was like, in order to get to the next level, you have to find where the portal is. And the portal is just hidden in some part. And so it introduces some sort of goal for the player. You're not just saying, hey, here's the portal, go to it whenever you want. In that kind of respect, I would like that. You know, I like the voluntary nature of me just going around and doing things whenever I want to. Because I'm not fighting with any kind of system. Okay, so all that being said, now we're going to take a look at what the developer had intended and see what happens. The first question I asked was, what were you hoping the player would feel while playing your game? This dev answered, I wanted the player to feel confused in the way that I am confused with life, but also extreme freedom I wish I had in the real world. The second question that I asked was, why did you choose this experience? This dev answered, quitting the bureaucracy of AAA industry to make something truly free and creative, doing so in a manic ADHD midlife crisis-induced desperation, knowing at least that I tried something different before crawling back as a failure to the mainstream. That's a dramatic answer, man. My third question was, were there any specific moments, mechanics, or ideas you built around that emotional goal? This dev answered, as much interaction with everything as possible. The more jiggles, movements, freedom, the better. Okay, weird. So you're a AAA worker. I wonder what it was that you did in the AAA industry, if you were a modeler or something like that, because that would make sense here. Yeah, this is certainly freedom. I mean, it's certainly what I felt when I played this was just an absolute toy box, or sandbox full of just random stuff. What was interesting is you said that you wanted the player to feel confused. Maybe what you meant was confused as in why this content, because for sure I could see that being being confusing. Like, why have Manboobs at all? Why this whole thing? Why this experience? This is definitely a WTF type of game where you look at it and you're just like, what is going on? Like, that's absolute confusion. If you look in the Discord, we had a bunch of chats about this game, about people just going, what is happening right now? Like, have no idea about this. So yeah, in that sense, I would agree this game did confuse me in that way. However, playing the game, I was not confused at all. It was very, very clear what I was supposed to do, which was find the portal, go to the next level, find the portal, go to the next level, and just keep doing that. And it was also very clear that at the very end, I was going to win chicken nuggets. Like, that was that was the thing that MrBeast said, I'm going to do that. If we talk about specific confusion in the game that I wasn't clear about, it would be the very basic stuff. It's like going to the portal. How do I know that the portal was activated when I went into it? Because there's no collision, there's only a trigger. That second one was very, very difficult to understand what it was I was supposed to do. Those insane spinning cannons that just look like they're glitching around. Those cannons I felt like were important somehow, and they weren't. The flying pigs, I wasn't sure if I was supposed to ride one or not. I wasn't sure how to get to the portal, how you wanted me to get to the portal. I wasn't sure when I should use platforming versus when I shouldn't. all of that stuff, all of that level design stuff, that was very confusing. So for sure, that was accomplished, but I'm not sure if that's what you were meaning to do. The hub world that you come back to, that restaurant that you come back to after the first level, there's a hidden portal, and the song tells you in the background that there is a hidden portal somewhere. And the portal is just like, it's like hilariously hidden. It's like between two walls in this one area where you just have to move this little thing, rather than being in the back where you would think it would be hidden because there's these huge walls that are built up around this big tower and this big mech. I spent so much time looking for the portal around that area, and it turns out I just had to go into the place and like knock the wall away. So that kind of stuff was very confusing for sure. I don't think that was intended, but I don't know. Does this scream midlife crisis? I mean, I suppose if that's what you're going for, it definitely feels unhinged. I will say that much. You said as much interaction with everything as possible. What was weird about this was that there was a lot of things I could interact with in some degree, where interacting with isn't just bumping into it and then making it, jiggle everywhere. That was something I could do for sure, but there was no meaningful interaction other than the museum part. And like I said in the very beginning, I really liked this part because there were like dragons sitting here. They were just there, and I could hop on the dragon and start making them move in weird ways. And it was fun because I wasn't supposed to do it. It was just something here that for me to do, and I just decided to do it. So thank you, K-Man, for submitting this game, Manboobs minigame. If you are not this developer and you want to submit a game of your own, you can. There is a link in the description. You can also join our Discord or Patreon if you'd like. For the Patreon, we have extras like podcasts and whatnot. I'm going to be adding more stuff onto that. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace. So the first question I asked this developer was, what did you want the flavor? What did you want the flavor? What kind of chicken shop did you want the flavor?
This is your first challenge, the Gucci Fairy Troll Bridge track, yo. Make it to the portal at the end and you will be rewarded with